Welcome to the Empowered Podcast, episode 31. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Empowered Podcast. I'm your host, Ellery Wells, and this is the podcast designed to help you develop, grow, and overcome the challenges that you are facing in your life, whether it's leaving a job, starting out on your own, or maybe you've had some sort of event that's happened to you, or you've been a part of a sickness, illness, a car wreck, something like that. I want to help you realize it's all right. There's a future for you. You have a place here, and I want to empower you with the skills that you need to be able to live and thrive after all of those things have happened to you. In today's episode, I wanted to share a story with you, maybe some background on myself. I don't really know at this point where this episode will go, but I wanted to talk to you about the funny side or the funny part of being laid off, but also what we can do about it. A couple of days ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she had mentioned that she left her job about 4 months ago, and she didn't tell a whole lot of people, and I'm not sure why she didn't tell a whole lot of people, but maybe she thought she was embarrassed or not quite sure, or there was a sense of security in doing what she was doing. I'm not quite sure, but I know I've been in her spot, so I'm definitely not judging her or saying I would have done it any different. Whenever I think we live in a society where we definitely associate our self-worth with the job title that we have. You know, if you say I when I was 16, I flipped burgers and made the fries at Sonic, and whenever I worked at a large IT company, I felt much more self-worth because I thought I was worth more. I was making more, and I think she might have been in that same position. I don't know. We didn't really get into that, but what was interesting about her story is that she was laid off. The company, this large company, decided they couldn't pay her anymore or didn't want to, or that she was expendable. And she had a relatively key role in this company. She's pretty high up, and whoever was higher than her just said, "Hey, you're probably the most expendable one, and I'll kind of integrate your role into mine." And you know, that's neither here nor there. But I think this friend of mine, she realized something that I've realized for a very long time, and I've tried to share some of that with my audience on the blog over time and things like that. But that the funny part of being laid off, and it's not really funny at all, but the funny part is the people who have been laid off, if you've ever been laid off, you can probably agree with this, is the people who are laid off were doing everything that they were told to do. There's a huge difference between being fired and being laid off. I've been both. I can say I've been fired. I've been laid off. I have changed jobs. I have moved cities for jobs. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. You may have been in similar situations in your life. But there's a difference between being fired and being laid off. And the people who were laid off were doing everything that they were told to do, probably very well, but someone above them decided that they as a person or their department or their team or their role was no longer necessary, whether it had been taken over by computers or had been outsourced to another country, or maybe you're doing away with that part of the business, but people who are laid off were doing everything correct. And my friend realized this a few months ago. And back in 2009, I was laid off from a large company. I won't say it here, but if you want to know, I'll tell you. And I was fired for something stupid in 2007. I was much younger then. Made mistakes and things like that. But again, there's a difference between being laid off and being fired. And at that point, you are at a key turning point in your life. And I was there. I've been there. I was there a couple months ago. My friend is there right now. And you can make a choice. if you've been laid off or fired, that's because you've put, we talk about putting all of your eggs in one basket. If you don't have a side hustle, if you remember the episode with Nick Loper, his podcast is The Side Hustle Show, putting something together on the side business. If you don't have something like that going and all you do is your 9-to-5 job, you are putting all of your eggs in the basket of one person. And that's essentially your boss, or maybe it's your boss's boss or the CEO. And here's the thing, you can do something about it. I firmly believe that. You have the choice once you've been released from your company, whether it's by your choice or someone else's, to do the same thing again, hand over your fate and your destiny and your future over to someone else, place it in their hands, which essentially, it can't be necessarily in two places. You can't hold on to it and put it in the hands of your boss either. But you can either hold on to it or give it to somebody else. And after you've left your company, you're faced with that decision. And I don't have all of the answers for you, but I thought I would give you a couple things that you can do about it. A few things that some practical things that you can do to maintain or hold or get back some of that control. So if you do want to go to another job, and some people, that is perfectly fine. I have nothing against jobs. I just have something against giving up complete control to anybody, unless it's your spouse. I wouldn't mind Ashley having complete control because I trust her. But if you're trusting a boss or a company, that trust is misplaced. I don't think there's probably very few things in life that would make me change my position on that. But if you don't have something on the side, if you're not pursuing your passion in your free time, and to borrow a phrase from Nick Loper, again from the Side Hustle Show, he says something about you work from 9 to 5, but from the 5 to 9 is what makes you feel alive. If you don't have something from your 5 p.m. to your 9 p.m., after your day job to when you go to bed, to make you feel alive, to where you can pursue your passion, I encourage you to find something like that. So here are a few things that I would recommend that you do. The first one is find what you're really good at. Maybe you're a project manager. Maybe you're good at working behind the scenes at a database or working on a database. Maybe you have a passion for painting or writing books or something like that. A friend of mine, Noble, does video work, and I think Noble's actually been working with the Cowboys or something huge up in Dallas, and it's really cool. But we all have our passions, and quite often our passions can turn into a paycheck. And we just have to figure out exactly what it is. And there are several steps that you need to go through about crystallizing what your mission is, what your purpose is, who your audience is, what kind of products you can create or put together to sell, and how you can market those things. But the first thing to do is really find your passion and determine whether or not that can turn into a paycheck later down the road. The second thing that you need to do is you really need to have your own website, whether it's your name or it's about your brand. My brand for the last 2 years has been Empowering the 80%. If you didn't know, I just recently rebranded that website to ElleryWells.com. I won't get into that here, but there's several reasons for that. If you haven't purchased your name.com, you absolutely need to do that for no other reason as you need to lock it in. Parents, if you have kids, I guess you wouldn't be a parent if you didn't have any kids. But if you have kids, you need to buy their domains right now. If you have daughters, maybe that's a little bit different, because in 15, 20 years or something, they might get married and change their name. But they need to have their own domains right now for no other reason than to lock it in so nobody else can buy it. It would cost you $10 or $12 a year. It's pretty simple. The second reason you would want your domain, if you are going to apply for a new job, you have to have a resume, right? It's kind of an antiquated custom, but everybody still has to have a resume. You have to submit one. You have to review one. Those kinds of things. As a side note, if you're banking on your resume to get you another job, then you're way behind the 8 ball. I can help you with that. Not here. But we hire who we know, not necessarily who has the best piece of paper. Anyway, the second reason you would want your domain is even if it's a .me account, like ellerywells.me or something like that, you can use that as an online resume. You can use it as a portfolio if you're a photographer or a painter or something like that. Or maybe you design homes. You can put up pictures of layouts and things like that. But having a website, even they're not hard anymore. WordPress makes that easy. There are free tools all over the place, or for a very low cost, you can get a website, but it can serve as your online resume. Sure, you need the paper one, but you could put your website up there. For more information, go to susan.me or ellery.me or something like that, and then people who are looking to hire you, when they do a Google search, they will find that information and say, hey, this person has all of this cool information online, and you can display a lot more information about you, pictures, images, artwork, those kinds of things on a website that, you don't want to turn in a 30-page resume. Nobody's going to read that crap, but they might scroll through a website or click through a couple pages, and that would definitely serve you. So whether you're wanting to go back into the corporate job, you've invested a lot in climbing the corporate ladder, and that's fine. You need a website, but especially if you want to start your own business, want to start contracting, want to start building your network, you absolutely need your own website. So the first thing is finding your purpose, what you're good at, and how you can turn your purpose into a paycheck. The second thing that you need to do is to get a website, yourname.com, yourname.me, something like that, and just put up information about you. The third thing that you absolutely need to do is, and I think this is probably where my friend made a mistake. It's not a huge mistake, but I would do it a little bit differently because of what I'm about to tell you. I think she hid the fact that she had left her job. And the reason why I think that's a mistake is because of the size of your network will directly affect how much money you can make in life and the amount of success that you have in life. Now, I'm an introvert. I've got maybe 4 or 5 close friends that I can call up at any time and say, what are you doing? It can be 6 months later. One of my friends in San Antonio, I think we went like 18 months or 2 years without talking, and I called him up or he called me, and it was just like we were back in college again. So I'm not saying you need to be friends with everybody under the sun, but whenever I asked myself a couple years ago, what is one thing that I need to do to grow my business? And the immediate answer for me was I need to grow my network. I don't think anybody can be successful if they don't have a significant network. Sure, I think Van Gogh or Mozart or something it must have been Van Gogh because Mozart was a piano player. So I don't think Van Gogh sold a painting while he was alive and then all of a sudden, his paintings are worth millions. But I don't know if he didn't tell people, if he put his paintings in a closet, whatever. My point there is saying that he was not successful, or he did not become Van Gogh the painter until the word spread about the quality of his work. And if that's you, if you're not telling anybody about what you do, no one will know, because most of society just, I think, kind of floats through life. And if you're going to strike out on your own and do something unique and special and out of the norm, it's not going to be necessarily expected. So even if you don't know your purpose and you don't have a website, you need to connect with other people. And like I said, for me, a couple years ago, when I was reading a book or something, I don't think I was at a conference, but the question was, what do you need to do to grow your business? And for me, the answer was, my network is not big enough. So whether that's Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, I would not really include Instagram, maybe. I heard a girl talking about how she was putting up pictures of her product on Shark Tank, or putting them up on, I heard her on Shark Tank, and she was putting them up on Instagram. And it was working for her and she was selling products. So maybe if you have a very visual medium or something like that, selling art, or in this case, I think it was baby shoes or something, Instagram might work. But it all comes back to the size of your network. If you know 10 people, you can only ask 10 people for help. But if you know 1,000 people, you can ask 1,000 people for help. And if you got a 5% response rate on 10, that's actually less than one person that would have something for you or know somebody who is looking for what you have to offer. But if you asked 1,000, you're going to see my wonderful math skills here, but I think 5% of 1,000 is 50 people if my math is right. But same percentage, but larger pool of people. And that's what I would encourage you to do. Don't be ashamed that you got laid off. You were doing everything correctly. If you got fired, everybody makes mistakes, but pick yourself up, brush yourself off, and as the Chinese proverb says, the wise man doesn't look where he fell, but he looks where he stumbled. Look what caused or what led to your separation from your company. And if you have that entrepreneurial bug, I highly suggest that you find your purpose, you have a website, start there anyway, and then grow your network. Now, those things may seem basic, they may seem super complicated depending on your position in life or your history, your background, or technical expertise. It can sound really complicated. I promise you it's not. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when I started my blog, I didn't know even what WordPress was. I'd never bought a domain before. Thankfully, one of my strengths is analytical, and I just studied and studied and studied until I figured it out. Luckily, now I know people who could have helped me along the way, and if I had asked for that help at the beginning, I might be much further along than I am now in my journey towards success. And so that's what I would hope to leave you with today. There's a difference between being fired and laid off, but both of them put you in a position to where you have a decision to make. Do I go back into the corporate world or working for someone else, even if it's a small business, and put my fate and my future and my my chances of success in the hands of someone else? Or do I try to do it on my own? Do I grab the car keys and put myself in the driver's seat and take control of my own destiny, my own success? And that's what I want to leave you with today. Will you take control, or will you hand it over to someone else? And it's not, I don't want to sound negative. I don't want to sound like I'm pushing you in some sort of way. But after having gone through several of these life events myself, that's what I want to help people do. If your decision is to strike out on your own, do something unique outside of the norm, and build a business, even if it's a small one to start off with, I'm here to help. And I would love to help you through that process. Send me any questions. If I don't know the answer, I'll definitely connect you with someone who I think will know the answer or be able to help you. This has been a kind of a unique episode of the Empowered Podcast. I don't always title them, but definitely the title of this one would have to be the funny side of being laid off, or the funny part of being laid off, and what we can do about it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Ellery Wells. You can find me at ellerywells.com or empoweredpodcast.com. There's no "the" in front of it, just empoweredpodcast.com. I can't wait to talk to you again. We'll see you next time.